Interessant, there's a Targum Sheni on the Esther. So it brings down again to the Kisei from Shlomo Melech. And it goes through the whole Seder. I don't understand it exactly 100%, but this is one part of the Kisei entails that on the back of the Kisei there was a menorah, there was a golden menorah. So it says, "Val reishe menarta kavir kednan dahavo the malya mishcha de zeisadachil," and it was filled on the reishe menorah was kavir a kadno. It was like a little like a a keli which was filled with the shemen for the zeisadachil for the shemen zayazach. The mina madloket the loch is the base of magdasho. There was in order to light the madloka, the loka from the base magdasha, from the base of mikdash. Sechas mino kavia aganto rabaso, and underneath it there was like a barrel. I guess it was like a gigantic kli, aganto rabaso. The hava malya mishcha was also filled with mishcha the zeisadachia, and the makrivin binei mishcha lebatzina de menarto, and that's what they used for the menorah. So they filled it up with. They took it from there, and to use for menorah. So it wasn't exactly on the kisei, but it was connected to, unless it was somehow connected, but it doesn't sound like it. Now on this aganto rabaso v'tzayer ola eli kahano rabo. Very interesting that on this here this barrel, let's say. So there was a kahana rabba, there was Eli. I don't think it was the picture of Tzayer, but it sounds like it was. I think it was written his name, but maybe again I don't know. Besartain shiblin dahava nafkin ben aganto. Okay, so now there were two shibolim that went out from this big barrel filled with shemen zayizach, and there were two, I guess, like sheaves, like two stalks, like stalks of wheat, whatever. Rabbasod the siren aloi train benoi, which is interesting. The two and each stalk, one in each was the two bonim from Eli Akain. Was Chofti and Pinchas. The Eli Chofti and Pinchas. Because Shibli indeed the haba under these golden stalks that came out of the Ganser Rabbasod Nafkin train Sintarin the haba. And then there were two handles, whatever, that came out from that, and there was over there it was Nadav Avil. So very interesting Zachter. Shlomo Melech has a whole bunch of people to choose from. There's a whole bunch of and this what's the Indian of Dafke that he takes this Indian from Chofni and Pinchas. So Eli Akain, all right, Eli Akain, it's hard to mess people, in the lineup, who's the greatest of the tzaddikim, not the greatest of the tzaddikim, what that is, but from this vegan, because there was a menorah on each side that came out of the kisei, which each had 7 branches. The menorah had 7 branches on each side. So there were the ones you would pick. It would be it was Avhosa the Olam. It brings down. It was like it was Ad Marishan. It was Noach. It was the Tzadiki Adaris, and then the other side was the Chasidi Adaris. Was like then we have the Avram Yitzchak Yaakov. We have the people that we would be familiar with. But it's like it's. So to me, in terms of what is the Indian from Chofti and Pinchas exactly. So das is a Zach. Hello, Davar Hu. So I think that
and they were Rishonim, right?
Again. So whatever they were, I'm sure they were tzaddikim. Let's say. You know, but you know, were they the greatest of the tzaddikim that you know when in terms of you had to pick? That's what I'm saying. Like you know, even we say the days, let's say the Gemara says in Shabbos Nun Hey Amud Beis that anybody that says that they were chotim is a Torah. You know, but then Rashi says they were told that they didn't do what this Vashteit in Pasuk and Shmuel, that they were with the rayas over there, the Pshatis, but they did Bezoyin Kochim, whatever, Shana, whatever they did.
Direct zustellte, Aaron, Avihu, and Eli and Chafni and Pinchas.
The what?
In the Targum Sheikh.
Yeah.
What do you mean? What?
He's telling zu. They were like Aaron and Chafni and Pinchas, and Avihu.
I'm saying so on this Ganta Rabbah, you just gave it, but there was there was a big barrel from the big barrel. The two sheaves of gold came out, and that was Chafni and Pinchas was and then there were like two, I think, handles, or let's say, and on this barrel which had the Shemen Zayis that they lit the menorah, the Shemen Zayis och, and there they took and they had the Nadav Avihu on there, and Aaron was on a different. They had I told you from the chair, from the kisei itself, there was a menorah, and each side was seven branches, and they had the different the ones you would expect to be on there. But this is taka to me is a rabbi. So like what's exactly the Indian the R Shlomo Melech? You know, he picks them the right. You know, he's not you know. This is something that's. So it's an interessant. So there's a Pachid Yitzchok in Pesach. Let's get back to Pesach. That there's a unique yichus, a yachasi between Pesach and the Midas Zrizus. There's a Midas Zrizus, His Highness. Like we know, it's a shmartim, it's a matzis. And mikan shein machmitzin as a mitzvah. From over here, you're not machmitzin as a mitzvah, which is interesting. That's lashon Chazal. Mitak diktuk advarim. He says, "Hanu l'meidim chiddush gadol b'tachne shamidas as rizas." But there's going to be something mamash a chiddush gadol. He says, "Tainas ki chesaron as rizas b'avaras Hashem ubekim a mitzvahs ein pirusha sheyesh kan heder ma'ila shal rizas." So normally, if we would go around, we would ask, "So there's reasons." Yes, it's not a nice mila. It's a mila when you do mitzvahs. You're supposed to do the reasons, you know, the zainish for schlafen and go and you do mitzvahs like a man. You do like those. You never you do mitzvahs. So, from this lashon Chazal that it's medamet, and it really is the morale that you medama these reasons by mitzvahs. And ein machminisin as a mitzvah is that to chumetz by chumetz by Pesach. So he tells us that chumetz and Pesach is not a heder mila. It's not like you're going to go out and buy some. This is chumetz, so I don't have the hidden mitzvah the matzahs mehudarim. This is something which is possible. This is mamash absul. So Vice the Chos, he says it must be. It's more zayin that from the lashon Chazal that it's just that there is a zrizus. The zrizus is more than just a head of mila. It's a psul. It's often shiyah. It's a psul, but it's a psul. Just like that chumetz is a psul by matzah, so too is the pshat is that a lack of zrizus by mitzvahs is a psul, which is a very interesting thing. That's a chiddush gadol. So that's what the morale time is, that he brings that a lashon of morale. He says that the chesaron of the lack of when a person doesn't do mitzvahs b'zrizus is because you're being mapil the mitzvah toch hazman. When you do it, we're not in a way in a zrizus dike often. What you're doing is you're taking the mitzvah and you're putting it tachas the memshelas hazman. When you take a mitzvah and you put it tachas the memshelas hazman, there's a certain pagam. There's a pagam in the mitzvah, and there's a psul over there. So and for Shteitzer, we're not talking about that he's not yatzir the mitzvah. He's yatzir the mitzvah, but the pshat is, but from das weg, and it's not like it's not the other extreme that it's a mila and you just don't have the mila. It's taka pagam in the mitzvah. It's a real pagam, and that's because it's tachas hazman the moral tainus. So the Pachi Yitzchok, Baal Pachi Yitzchok explains that there's a Gemara in Eruvin. I didn't get it. The Gemara in Eruvin says, El Molei not Nisna Torah. Had the Torah not been given, you would learn out certain midas of the Ribono Shalom, midas in Avodas Hashem. You would learn it out from the Bria. You could be mistaken. You look from sneers. You go to a chatul and you look at a cat and you see the pshas. You would learn out. Sneers. You go at this. He says in the whole list of things that we could learn out from the Bria. He says very interesting. It's gefällt one thing that says often a pasuk. Shlomo Melech says as also like eitzel nabola. And it doesn't say that in the Gemara. The Gemara should say that pshat is when you want to learn out zrizus, you want to learn out zrizus, go to a namola. Also, leichet on the mola. In the mola, Shlomo Melech says, and yet from Deswegen it doesn't say it in the Gemara. El mola nisna Torah, you will learn out zrizus from a namola. So the Rashiv is very medactic that this is hello davarhu, that we have to figure out what's the reason that Chazal left this out of the Gemara like that. He said then he goes on and telling us that there's an Indian of zrizus. We would have to fataish what is a zrizus. A zrizus is that it's a mahalich of kiyum ratzon of the mensch. You could do that. A person could do zrizus. A person wants a drink. He runs there and gets a drink. He does it with zrizus. It's not an improper way of using the word zrizus. You can have zrizus in any type of often of the pshas. A person has a ratzon and he wants to be mekayim that ratzon. If he does the kiyum of that ratzon in a shtela often without any kind of ikuvim, so the pshas said that's he did the thing with zrizus. He says that's ein sort zrizus. He says if it says that's not what we're talking about over here. What we're talking about over here is a certain zrizus. The pshas that's a mole nisna Torah. Then that type of zrizus you can learn out from that not zrizus those type of midas. But there's a zrizus which is miyuchad ach verach to Kabbalah Torah. There's a zrizus which is there's a musag from zrizus which that zrizus is a musag which is only nagea to Kabbalah Torah. And the pshas, what does that mean? So he goes on and tells us that's the idea from like we went the first type of zrizus, the zrizus the pshat that's not told you on Kabbalah Torah. So that's the zrizus with pshat that's saiba goyim, saiba yidden, saiba anything. It's the zrizus. Saiba midi kedusha, saiba midi chol. It's a zrizus. Masha Enken, this is zrizus. He says that there's a musag from zrizus which is nor nogeh to yidden and Kabbalah Torah. Now we've said many times before, we've made many distinctions in the terrace of Avos and between the terrace of Avos and the terrace from Har Sinai. And we talked about it in terms of it's kedai to repeat many times because it's mamash an Indian gadol. The pshat is a yesod nifla. The pshat is that by Adam Rishon the Breishis bar we can't get away from the kenesh avekduk and from the tachlis of the Arlam is the pshat b'shvil Torah and b'shvil Yisrael b'shvil Torah. Now that because before the chet of Adam Rishon that would have been mekuyim in Adam Rishon. Mashenka never heard this before, right? And Mashenka after Matan Torah, after the Chet of Adam Rishon, so he was all the neshamas nishmas the Tzuras Yisrael was all part of his neshama, and once he made the Chet of Adam Rishon, so it was inspired from him, and therefore there was no kiyum of the Welt of Yisrael Yisrael. He would have been the kiyum of Yisrael Yisrael himself with Adam Rishon. Masha Enkein after the Chet, there was no kiyum in Adam Rishon. There was no kiyum in any one person anymore. And Mamela the Chazal say that the 26 kilo chasas and Halo Agadol was connected to 26 the Dairis that Kadosh Baruch was on the farthest the world bechesed. And we said also many times the Pshaz that the Baal Pachi Yitzchok time is that's that the chesed, it's impossible to taina that the chesed, there'll be a meat of chesed when it comes to Matan Torah. That up until now, the Kadosh Baruch Hu is on the world b'chesed. And after Matan Torah, it's not b'chesed. That's not shaykh. It's not shaykh such a thing. With chesed, with Torah, the pshaz is a riboy of chesed. There's not this Torah's chesed. It's a chil's chesed. Sofa chesed. Is the Torah is chesed. So Mabela pshaz, what he told us was that the quality of the chesed is different from before the nasinas, before the nasinas Torah was a chesed chinam, because and according to what we're saying, it's moving that there was no one person. We said that even though no matter how great of a tzaddik he was, but there was no one person that his personal avoda could have a mad of the Welt. Because of his avoda, the world exists. It exists in a state and on Zion avoda. Why? Because the whole tachlis of the Welt was Klal Yisrael, was Yisrael. And now Yisrael, Adam Rishon would have been Yisrael. That would have been fine. There would have been one person, Adam Rishon, his avoda was enough to be Ma'ami of the Welt, the tachlis of the Welt. Masha Enkein is once all the neshamas were in Isparin, so you now have to, the tikkun can only come from something that could be kola, all the neshamas, all nishmas Yisrael, and the surah to Adam Echod, Adam Echod, the Lev Echod, the Ish Echod, the Lev Echod. So Mamela the Pshas said then you needed this bria niflo. You had to create something. You had to have a yitzira from Klolius Knesset Yisrael, and that's the only way. So up until after the chet of Adam Rishon, until Matan Torah, there was no one person that his avoda could be ma'amid the Welt. It's a chesed chinam. The Kadosh Baruch Hu is befarnis the world b'chesed chinam. Masha enken after Matan Torah. With Matan Torah is b'shas we all yidden, we all yesh shishim riba osis l'Torah. All the yidden are part of a Klolius Knesset Yisrael, and the b'shas our avoda is enough to our avoda can this mashtel in the Welt, but because of our avoda, because we are Yisrael, we are Knesset Yisrael. We are a chelik of Knesset Yisrael. A chelik of Knesset Yisrael is able to the avodah of Klal Yisrael. So Mamela the Pshaz, he says like this. He says by Har Sinai, we timed it also. We said there were different differences between the avodah of Klal Yisrael of the tzaddik Ador before the Avos Torah. So Avos we'll call it before Matan Torah and after Matan Torah. It's before Matan Torah we said that they were what and they were Eina Mitzvah V'Osa. That Adam Rishon and we brought down the Nefesh HaChaim and Avraham Avinu and this and Yaakov Avinu could marry two sisters. Zakta state the Nefesh HaChaim because the Shaz that about that they were Eina Mitzvah of Osa. So what they did is that Avraham Avinu would look, or Yaakov Avinu would look and see what tikkunim you need to be done in the world. This tikkun is necessary to be done, and they would do it. They would do anything they need, any pu'ula that they would see there be a tikkun. But if they would see aggressor a tikkun for doing something which is even connected what the Torah would say, not to marry two sisters, let's say. So Mamela the Pshas said that you do that. So Yaakov Avinu saw from marrying two sisters, you're going to have a yitzira from Klal Yisrael. You're going to have yitzira shvatim shiftei kol, and that's the yesod of it's going to be the yesod of Klal Yisrael. So Mamela the Pshas said that's what he did. He was able to do that because his Torah was a Torah from Eina Mitzvah V'Osa, and he was a Torah, so we call that a nishma v'nasa. He was also a nishma v'nasa. It wasn't a Torah from ours, it's a nasa v'nishma. And now, and after Matan Torah is because we have no brera. You could see the gresta tikkunim in the Welt. If you do something, if you eat a piece of chaylev, it's going to be gresta tikkunim in the Welt. Too bad. The pshaz that with the Torah is mitzvah, you're mitzvah v'os, and there's no shayla about it. No matter whether even if you see and gerech, there will be a tremendous tikkun from doing this pool. It doesn't make a difference. So there were two differences between the Torah. So obviously say the Torah before Matan Torah and the Torah after Matan Torah. So yes, Maleksu and Nocha Knech. Nocha Knech is the Pshaz that there's a zrizus There's a zrizus that Pshat said that zrizus of the musik from zrizus of Matan Torah dik is zrizus. The Matan Torah dik is zrizus, like the Maral says, is Pshat that the Torah, you're taking mitzvahs and you're putting them under the Zman, under the old from Zman, under the Shlita from Zman. That's a begima, that's chumetz by mitzvahs. Why? Because when we came out of Mitzrayim, you came out b'chipozon. The chipozon of Mitzrayim is the Pshat that this goes in hand and tangent with the creation, with this creation of Kanolius Knesset Israel, is the Pshat mitu and mitzvahs with zrizus with the l'mayla ben azman. You're doing mitzvahs l'mayla ben azman. You're doing mitzvahs l'mayla ben azman. So the Pshat Einachanami said that's why we do mitzvahs. That before Matan Torah was not like that. Before in the Matan Torah, so with the old from the Metzuva v'osa and the Anasa v'nishba comes also Melek Su. The Pshat and now there's Anaya and Zrizus. Anaya Musik from Zrizus. As Zrizus, which that's Zrizus, the Pshat Matan Torah is Zrizus. You have to do it now because the Pshat is the mitzvahs should not be Torchas Man. Which is and if you remember, we said that's why Avram Avinu could have Arba Mea Parakim from Avodah Zarah, because the Pshat his was there were a Torah from looking at the Welt. There were a Torah of looking at the Welt and understanding the ganze panorama from Welt, from which is unbelievable, which is beyond anybody's ken. If you understand the Pshat, the extensiveness of the Welt and the Kechovim and things like that. So but that was Avram Avinu and the others. They could look and they could see mamish all the alamas and all the different types of the Masha Enkein. For us, it's the Pshat. So they were like a nishma of an asa. They saw they reacted to tikkunim. They reacted to chesronas. Whatever the Welt needed. That was something that the Welt needed a certain tikkun. So that's what they did. And that's so. But ours reasons is the Pshat we're given mitzvahs. We have mitzvahs which Pshat, those mitzvahs are Pshat that we are an ummah, which the ummah is l'mayla min hazman. We don't do it because we look in Welt. We don't do mitzvahs because we mustako in the Welt and we do mitzvahs. We see that you need to take a lulav there. He says that's why Avram Avinu could eat matzahs on Pesach. What do you mean? There's no matzah. No, you see it's Yisrael. How do you eat matzahs? It wasn't the Yitzias Yisrael that created the mitzvahs matzahs. It was mitzvahs matzahs that created the Yitzias Yisrael. So that was a reaction. That was something that you looked. That was a nishma v'nasa. You saw the Welt and you reacted. You see what kind of tikkunim you need. Masha Enkein. The Pshat by uns, the Pshat, no, we don't react to anything. We react to only what was given in Sinai. Sinai, our Welt is Sinai. We don't see anything other than Sinai. If you don't see anything other than Sinai, so the way of doing our mitzvahs is not a reaction of tikkunim. Our CSM mitzvahs, our Torah mitzvahs, is a Pshat is something where it's completely whatever this Pshat was by Sinai, and Sinai that was a chipozon. How do you come to Sinai? You come to Sinai. How do you have a Yitzira from Klal Yisrael, from Klolius Knesset Yisrael? B'chipozon. So our mitzvahs, our siyas mitzvahs, our identity is the Pshat the Yisod from all the mitzvahs. Is Pshat is chipozon. Is Pshat l'mayla ben. And what is the sense of that? Is the Pshat that it shouldn't be atachas hazman. We're an ummah which is not like any ummah in the world that exists. We're an ummah which is l'mayla min hazman. You're l'mayla min hazman, so how do you do it? So we're fourth in the Welt, so we do mitzvahs, we take a lulav on certain days, we take a matzah on certain days, and we like tefillin and certain lane tefillin and certain, but besides that, that's enachanami. We're not denying that we are a chayla, we're part of the Welt, we're meleked in the Welt, but our siyas mitzvahs, that's why we have to do it b'chipozon. We have to do it b'zrizus. So that's the zrizus that you can only learn out from Sinai. So when the Chazal say in Eruvin and Kuf Amud Beis, the Pshat is that you will learn out certain midas from the different parts of the Bria. From Bria. We don't look at Bria and react. We don't look at Bria and react. We have a Torah. The Torah tells us what to do, and that's what we do. We jump. The Torah, the Rebbeinu says jump, we jump, and that's it. Finished. Maybe it's better if you don't jump. It's more tikkunim. We don't look at tikkunim. We look exactly the Pshat ganz nefesh chayim. You look at it. The Pshat is the asiyah is the ikar. The asiyah we do. We do because we're not reacting, we're not responding to a matzah, we're nasa v'nishba. That's the yesod from the from a nasa v'nishba. Mitut, that's what we do. That's what we do. We do mitzvahs. How do you do mitzvahs? And we do mitzvahs. How do we do mitzvahs? That can always kadesis yisrael b'chipos and b'zrizos. So that's our asiyas mitzvahs. Our asiyas mitzvahs has to be b'chipazon, and that's something yamolei nisna Torah. You would never know it. You wouldn't know because that's only a reaction. That's the other way. The other musag of zrizos. This is zrizos is ach and rak only to klal yisrael and to Matan Torah. This is basically. The vortex. That's what Tanya is that the Namola, the first type of zrizos is something is a mahalach, is a tool of the achieving rotzen. The first type of zrizos before Matan Torah was a tool to achieve rotzen, whatever the rotzen is. So the pshat you can do it by zrizos. It means you achieved your rotzen in the schneller dicker often. The pshat says, so that's why you couldn't say the Shlomo says Namala also eleich etzel Namala. He says that can only be the Matan Torah dicker zrizos. He says an Namala lives 6 months. It eats his whole ganze essen is a chit and a half, and this, and it makes a kurim of it's ma'aseh the kurim of chitim and things when it gathers. So the pshat says how you can't rotzen shvacha rotzen hot the namalo. So the namalo can't go, but it cannot be totally on his rotzen the namalo. It has to be totally on that musag of zrizos which you see by namalo because a tut. Etut is an avid, avoda. That's what dos is what's etut. Etut, not because it's rotzen. It's a miloi rotzen. So if you don't have a miloi rotzen, because a shvacha rotzen, so that's muchrach. As one mezeta as reasons by namole, it cannot be ilmole nosnater. Not ilmole nosnater. B'shas for carrot davka only when the Torah is given. Only that type of reasons can only come from when the nach Matan Torah. That's the state. I mean, there's more to it, but okay, weiter. So again, the bottom line is that the Torah's Sinai of the Nasa v'Nishma and a Matzuva v'Ose has to be zrizos also. Sort of like a Nocha Kadesh, our Avodah, our Yesod from mitzvahs. Masha'en came before Matan Torah. That was something that the zrizos was only a miloi rotzen. A miloi rotzen could be in miloi de Kedush, could be miloi de Chol. He's in Abazay, so where do we know zrizos from? Where do we learn out in the Gemara when it says it's dafka? It's from Avram Avinu. The Gemara says in a few places we learn out from Avram Avinu that by the Akedah, first state by Avram Avinu, it's mamash niflidik now. If you understand what's going on, it's a pili ploy. In Parshas Vayera and then Chav Beis Vayihi Achar Advarim Ha'ele V'Elikim Nisas Avraham Vayamer Elav Avraham Vayamer Hineni. Okay, so the Rebbe was speaking to Avraham Avinu Vayamer Kach Dos Bincho Es Yichidcho Asher Ohavto Es Yitzchok. Okay, Lech Lecho El Eretz Amariya V'Aleya Sham La'olo Alach Adaharim Asher Amar Lecho. There's a tzivoy for the tzivoy by Avraham Avinu. Even a normal the pshat the opposite nishka hat can tzivuyim, but the pshat is but there's a tzivoy from to Avraham Avinu. One of his tzivoy was the pshat is lech lecho. He tells him go lech lecho al eretz Maria v'alei sham la'ola. So there's a tzivoy there. Oh, so there's a tzivoy there. If there's a tzivoy to Avraham Avinu, what's the next pasuk? Pasuk Gimel. Vayash came Avram baboker. That's we all know the pasuk. That's where the Torah is darish. that how do you know zrizis? You know zrizis from Avram Avinu because it's always Vayashkem Avram Baboker. Now we said that what are we taina? That the whole idea of our zrizis of a namala can only come from Matan Torah ve'elech. Why? Because that's a tzivoy, a mitzvah v'osa. I've come by Avraham Avinu. It was the one mitzvah he's going to getting down. It was he's a mitzvah v'osa. You're a mitzvah v'osa. Yes, come and learn and up learning the zrizis. Yes, come and learning the Matan Torah zrizis, even from Avraham Avinu, even from the kilo chastos, from the door which is before the Matan Torah. But from Avram Avinu, we can uplearn the zrizis from unser musik from zrizis of the nifsezayin tachas as man. As the zrizis of a mitzvah was matut cannot sein. It cannot sein. It's a begam if you do it tachas as man. It's mamish the mamish niflidik. It's mamish beautiful. Yashkem Avram Baboker. And that's why you can learn this yourself from the. Now, so it's very interesting. Then it comes out very good. The Gemara in Pesachim says, on Daf Dalet. The Gemara says that the Gemara is talking about the hashta, the kaimelon, the kuli alma, or it's orsa. So if you're going to tell me that the Gemara has a Masavat, what is when it says when the Mishnah says or la arba also you have to vodkin as a chometz lower in there. So the Pshah is, what does it mean or? So the Gemara says as back and forth it's to a different mandam Rabbi Yehuda of Maryland, and then the Gemara comes out and says that this is where everybody is agreeing that it's Laila, that you're both going to sit there in Laila. Okay, if you're both going to sit there in Laila. So Zokta Gemara, V'ashta the kaimelon the kuli alma or so who michde bein the Rebbe Yehuda bein the Rebbe Meir chometz eino aser ela mishei shos l'mayla. Now again, so Erev Pesach that we know chometz is only going to be aser from shei shos l'mayla from Erev Pesach on Yod Dalet. V'nivtech b'shis. So what do you have to go check and go be bodik chometz by Laila by Nacht the night before? Go check it in Sheis and L'mayla. So check it in the beginning of Shor Sheis. You have plenty of time. You go check the chometz. You burn it, and everything is gewaldig. What's the issue here? What's share here? Like why do you have to go all the way to the night? The chitem is reason magdim in the mitzvahs. Oh, what do you mean? Maybe there's a reason makdim in a mitzvah. You know why I got to do it at night? We do it at night because there's reason makdim in a mitzvahs. Nivdach b'tzafra. No. Who told you? There's reason makdim in a mitzvah is going to tell you by tzafra. You're going to tell you if you do it by night, you should do it by tog. You should do it by tzafra in the morning, the first thing in the morning, you should go do it. You don't do it at b'shis, don't do it b'shor shishis. What you're going to do is you go do it right first thing in the morning. The ksiva yom hashmini yimol b'sar alosa v'tanya kala yom kula is kasher l'mila. Elish is ribin magdim in l'mitzvah. Is we to make the meal of Yishanam Mar v'yashkem Avram Baboker. A lot of people don't understand. The Gemara is really is putting two things together over there. The Yashkem Avram Baboker is really by the Akedah. And it's bringing a right to the Mila. The Pshaz that you're doing Mila early in the morning, but that was also a tzivoy by Avram Avinu. Also a tzivoy. So if when there's a tzivoy, the Pshaz you have a zrizis, and that zrizis is only by Baboker. So if it's zrizis by Baboker, so the Pshaz, so why do you can't tell me that it's a zrizis makdim mitzvahs at the time that I should do it at night? So Amar Rav Nachman, he says, by Yitzchak b'shosha b'nei Adam Matsuya b'batayim v'or and their yafel b'dika. Fine. But so this idea, the pshar is that the reason is Baboker comes out very, very nice thing here. Rashi says, Nivduch, when the Gemara asks a kasha, Nivduch b'shor shishis, chometz b'tchila sheish, v'kana misura yavarenu, and before it becomes aser, m'sheish l'mayla said, you'll burn it. Normally, like Dumi Kuli High, why do we have to go and have a B'dikas Chometz at night? Okay, so then you have a havamida equal to root say the basnisanam b'sheish kamer aber hashta tiksha. Now it's a shver. Nivdach b'tzafra. So Zok the Gemara, Zok the Rashi. The Gemara says nivdach b'tzafra. So why do you have to go and do it at night? If you want to mekayim as reason magdim in the mitzvahs, go do it. Go do it in the morning, in the beginning of the morning. What's the morning? What's b'tzafra? The ika hakdama. There's reason. Listen, you want to be you want mekayim this Indian, this Gvaldik Indian of reason magdim in the mitzvahs. So go do it early in the morning. What do you have to wait? You have to go up at night and go do it at night. Gavi Mila or Zriros Davram, and it's really two separate things. Gavi Mila or Zriros Davram, which is the Akeda. Shnever Vyashkem Avram Baboker Shalo Himtin Adei Tzachama. That Avram Avinu, when he got up for Yashkem Avram Baboker, so obviously now Pshat in Pasuk, it doesn't mean what's Baboker mean. Baboker over here means Alos HaShachar. Baboker here means Alos HaShachar. Avram Avinu got up by Alos HaShachar. Mikol Maka Balayla Lo Higdim. But he didn't get up. Avram Avinu could have got up at night and this so the Shaila is taka. Where do we see? Where do we have this idea? Why should it be not? Maybe taka. Maybe there's reason Magdim Mitzvahs Mechayiv a person that why does Avram have to Avinu had to get up in the morning at Alos HaShachar in order to be kind of reason Magdim in the mitzvahs, and he goes and now will start going to do the Akeda, going wherever you have to go and do your mitzvah. It doesn't make more sense if it's reason Magdim in the mitzvah. Get up in night, get up before Alos HaShachar, be all prepared, and then when it comes Alos HaShachar, then you do the mitzvah. Shouldn't that be the reason Magdim in the mitzvahs? You do it the earliest possible time. The earliest possible time. Why do you first have to start your zrizas when you get in the morning? It's a pella. Why do you first have to start your zrizas in the morning? Get up at night. Get up half an hour beforehand. Say your brachas and be ready to go be mekayim the shei yichud. You go the keda, the milah. Why do we have to start by Yashkem Avram Baboker? Why do we're studying it to Mila? Why do you have to get up? Everybody should have to get up in the middle of the night, be ready, and then at the mamash like dates. You're davening dates. You wait for the dates. This fellow knows about that. You're davening dates. You wait and you daven exactly at that time. So daven it exactly. Why don't you do the mitzvah exactly at that time when it comes to Alos HaShachar? Or nates or whatever the thing is, but why do you first start your zrizas when the mitzvah when after that what's it's a pella. Teretz is like what we're talking about. What do you don't do verstehst nicht. Zrizas is not a miloi rotzen to do the mitzvah. Unser zrizas is not a miloi rotzen to do the menachnam. You have a miloi rotzen, so you do it as a possible the first brekel, the first time that you could do it, that's when you do the mitzvah. No, that's not what zrizas is by uns. By uns is matan teredik is zrizas. Or matan teredik is zrizas is a pshat. It's a chelik for mitzvah. There's a chelik for mitzvah. It doesn't fancy going before the mitzvah. This does not start before the mitzvah. It's only in the zman for mitzvah. Jetzt kannst du anfangen with the mizrizis. The zriz is not a hechatimsa to do the mitzvah at the earliest possible time. The zriz, like what we're talking about, is a hechatimsa. It's not a hechatimsa. It's an ofen to become the mitzvah. It's a chayla from kiyama mitzvah. The mitzvah muzayin, not tachas aman. This man, so you can't get up before this man and say I'm being kaim zriz magdim mitzvah. No such thing. It's a klotz kasher, right? It doesn't make sense, right? It's not make sense. It's not true. It's not true. So it's mamish nifla. It's mamish the Gemara is maduyik hativ over here. This is the pshat that unser Mosag and unser mitzvahs zrizas magdim mitzvahs unser zvangsakon only with the zman of the mitzvah. It's the mitzvah itself. It's a chayil mitzvah and memela the pshat is that mitzvah bol the yodcha al tach mitzena. When it's come to the hand, you have a mitzvah to do. Then al tach mitzena, not al tach mitzena, and go and make sure you can do it the earliest time. That's not the reason magdim and mitzvahs. It's a toss. Makes a mistake. So very beautiful. This is unbelievable. Okay, so Leila, this is, yes, we have a little te'ima what we started off with. We started off. All the kasha, I mean, the chachma shavah. Like Shlomo Melech makes a kisei, which their kisei is mamash given eins von der Welt. I mean, there's every melech wanted to sit in there. They took it. They went to Alexandria. They went to this. Went to that. I mean, it was the prize of every melech in the Welt was the kisei from Shlomo Melech. Achashverosh, all of them. This and he puts this Chofni and Pinchas. Who are they already? I mean, this is a state of this. It's taka appel. It's taka mamash appel. Aber it's a state in Gemara. Yeah. Amar Reb Shmuel bar Menachmedi Amar Reb Yonasan. Kala Amar b'nei Eli Chotu Einu Ela Torah. Shnamar v'sham shnei b'nei Eli. There were two b'nei Eli over there in Beis Hamikdash. Chofni and Pinchas Kohanim LaHashem. So the Gemara says that okay, so there is maybe a mandama that holds that, but this holds like Rav. The Pinchas is lachota and you're makish Chofni LaPinchas and it will lachota. Fine. Elamani Mekayim Zog Frekti Gemara Asher Yishkevun Es Anoshim Mitokshe Es Anoshim. I don't state them a foolish and possible. Asher Yishkevun Es Anoshim. This is something which is Mitokshe Shohu Es Kineim Shalo Holcho Eitzel Baleim Mailo Aleim Akosav Ki Ilu Shokvam. What did this Chofni and Pinchas do? Sheshohu Es Kineim. Es gefällt in Zrizus. The Teredik is Zrizus, Meridik. Es gefällt in the Teredik is Zrizus. In the Siyas HaMitzvah from the Akrovas of the Kineim, from the Yoldus, there were Shohu. But without there were Shohu, so the Teredik B'siach is all kinds of, it's like it was Ke'iluk Shochvam. But what's given the Avla? What was given the Bezoyin Kochim? Asher Shohu, they didn't bring it on time. They didn't bring it in a Zrizus ticket often. The Kineim. Rashi will tell us that the Pshas that they did things that they tried to. They did not do it with Zrizus. They did not do it with alacrity. They did not go and do the mitzvah with alacrity. You understand? They didn't do it. Oh, this, and what is this Zrizus? What is this Zrizus? That's the fundamental from Siyas Mitzvahs and Klal Yisrael. There's a fundamental from the Siyas and Mitzvahs and Klal Yisrael. This is the Maral. This is the Bachid Yitzchok. This is the ganze Siyas Mitzvahs of doing mitzvahs is only believed. The pshat is that you have to do mitzvahs in an ofen which is l'maylam and izman. It cannot be tachas aman. If you're a chelik of Klal Yisrael, if you're a chelik of Klal Knesset Yisrael, if you're makabel the Torah on Sinai, the pshat is that you have to do mitzvahs b'zrizas. And a zrizas which is the mitzvah is not tachas azman. If you do mitzvahs which are tachas azman, so those is geveld. You're making a pigul. You're making now a chometz in a mitzvah. You make a chometz in a mitzvah. You make a begam in a mitzvah. The ganze mitzvah bestelt of that. This idea that it darf sein beim zrizas. It's not just that ma'ila a hitter. The pshas gefelt and say a hitter. They didn't do it. The pshas that they gefelt and say mamish the ikar yisod from vasiyas mitzvahs and klal yisrael. Das is what Shlomo Melech put on and next to his kisei. If he had certain amount of people, he had certain amount of dugma what to put. And this, if you're talking about the zeicher to do mitzvahs in the ofen, which is niflidik ofen of Zrizus, who does he put on there? Chofni and Pinchas. Chofni and Pinchas, they felt that. That's what they were specialists in the psharas and not doing it bezrizis. Those that often the pasuk state they say. In Pesach steht er in Shmuel, and in the Gemara steht er so Pshas about the day was gefällt, so Pshas said that's why he like so Davke, Chofni and Pinchas, and by Zain Kisei, by Yesodis, because the ganze Kisei you'll see was only with the Yesodi Olam, with the Chasidi Yomas Olam, and the Avhus Olam. That's what he puts on the Kisei. That's what the Chacham Mikol Lodom puts on the Kisei. His Kisei is that Pshas said the Yesodis for mitzvahs.
If he's trying to devise what's the Yesodis,
not devise, he's trying to devise and to remember as a card, yeah.
Zakaron to show what's the Kiyum Olam and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But Avram Avinu, he was the Makar.
He had. That's I didn't read the whole thing of the Targum Sheni. I told you there was on the Kisei Alain was a menorah, and the menorah, each side of the menorah had 7 branches onto it. And one side was Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, with also and all the people that you would think should be there. I'm telling you because from Chofni and Pinchas you see the Yesod, you denken the Yesod Nifla from Zrizus, which are Chiddush Nifla, the Zrizus, which is a Matan Torah Zrizus. A Matan Torah Zrizus. You see it not from because they were Mekayim and them because of the Pshaz, they were tzaddikim, they were graced at tzaddikim. But the Pshaz gefelt in say whatever. And what's the chiluk between a zrizis in Matan Torah dikas zrizis we told him and the zrizis before Matan Torah. The zrizis before Matan Torah is the milui rotzen. So the Pshaz, I'm going to do a mitzvah. Say I have a milui rotzen to do the mitzvah. So that's before the mitzvah. It's not a chiluk in a mitzvah.
But Avram's reasons was that Mount Torah.
Right. That's why all the limudim are from where he was having at Tzivoy. So a Mela, but what's the difference between the two? It's man difference. It could be a rega before the mitzvah and a rega after the mitzvah.
So everyone on the Kisei was positive, but they were don't be like that.
Don't be like that. We'll see. We'll Hashem Yisbarach in Parsha Shmini. We'll see about Nadav and Avihu and why they were also on there in the guns and
great people who you learned not to be like.
So again, so it's not for care. It's not don't be like them. It's I know make a zikaron that they are a dogma of how important it is to that the Yesod mitzvahs is only through the zrizus of Matan Torah. The Matan Torah zrizus that a mitzvah cannot be under the zman. A mitzvah cannot be under the zman. It's not a matter of you have to do and you have to do it schnell. You have to go make sure that that's not the ikr. These people that say that hachana is the ikr and stuff like that, that's not the point here. That's not the issue over here. There's reason not the hachana over here. There's reason a chiluk for mitzvah. This is the way you do mitzvahs. This is the asiyah. And asiyah and mitzvahs is only derech zrizis. You don't do derech zrizis, the mitzvah. It's a pagam. It's chometz. Not that chometz b'diavad yotzer or something like that. Okay, but the pshas so anishkin gute sach. The ganze yisod of unser mitzvahs is this zrizis. It's not a head of mile. It's ikar asiyas and mitzvahs. That we can learn from the Chofni and Pinchas.
And Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, and the other tzaddikim and chasidim were on there, weren't on there as zecharinas?
They for different zecharinas. For not that type of zikron, not the zikronis from asiyas and mitzvahs.
So it wasn't surely to have tzaddikim and chasidim? That was just agav?
No, it's different. A different point. The chasid, one side. Again, he has one side was where is this? I have a picture here. I made up. One side was Shiva Avhus Alma, Adam Noach Shem Eov Avram Yitzchak and Yaakov, and the Shiva Chasidi Alma, Levi Kahas Amram Chur or Chagi was a Magirsa, Moshe Aaron and Eldad and Medad. So the Pshas are maybe very interesting to say, but there's Avos Olam and there's Chasidio Alma. They were on the branches and they were attached to the kisei. This sounds like a barrel which is underneath there was a cod of shemen which was hanging from the kisei, and then underneath that cod of shemen was an agon, was like a big barrel of shemen. And on that big Baal Hashem, we said there were 2 shibolim which came out, two sheaves, golden sheaves, and on those that was Chofni and Pinchas, and then there were 2, I guess, handles. Let's say I don't know. Let's say 2 handles, and on those handles on the Ark and Rabasur was Nadav and Avihu.
Eli's also there.
Eli was on the Ark, and he was on the Ark and Rabasur himself, not on the shibolim that came out, but he was on the Ark himself. It was Eli Kohen. So it was very interesting to say. So all these people that he chose, the Shlomo Melech was with Chokman and Flo. We're talking about somebody that is. To me, a rabbi, why they would pick such a dogma, to put in Chofni and Pinchas. I mean, that's that from the Teretz. Yeah, no. What did they show us a Kineim? The terror makes it sound like the worst. Teretz says, yeah, because you don't understand. It's not a header miler when you don't do something b'zrizis. Don't do a mitzvah b'zrizis. It's not a header miler. You're not a good fellow, and it's great, and the mitzvahs are gavaldik. The Pshar no. The Pshar said, I just don't have to be a big tzaddik. I mean, a little tzaddik. Teretz says, no. When you do something, when you do a mitzvah, which is with not this risus, you're putting the mitzvah tachas asman, the Hamish's mitzvahs from Har Sinai. So you're not the Knesset, the Klolius Knesset Israel, which you do bista chelik from Klolius Knesset Israel. You're being mashpil. You're being mashpil tachas asman. It's a chobitz. This is chometz. This is chometz on Pesach. So and the Chalamis is gewaldig. It's mamish beil liploim. I mean, whatever. Maybe you ask me, I would pick somebody different, but Shlomo Melech is all right. You can't argue with Shlomo Melech. That's. But I understand now. I have a little team of why he put that as a dugma for something. It's nifladik. And Be'ez Hashem Yisbarach, next week, the week after, Parsha Shmini, we'll talk about Nadav and Avihu, why they were on there. The Nadav and Avihu, but a little bit better, you understand? But it's not for the same reason, it's not because of something not positive, it's whatever the Yisod from the Nadav and Avihu. Be'ez Hashem Yisbarach, Chag Kosher v'Sameach. Simchas and Nachas.
The other reason for Chof